lineup has had a few tweaks for 2021, and these two cruiser style bikes, the Bomber and the Speedmaster, are closer than ever in terms of spec. In fact, on paper they almost look like the exact same bike, yet on the road they couldn't be more different. Thankfully I'm here today at the Triumph factory visitor experience. They're just getting ready to reopen in the middle of August. We've had a bit of a sneak peek today, as well as a look around the museum, which has got a few new exhibits. It has to be one of the best collections of Triumphs in the world, if not the best. So definitely get down here if you've been thinking about it. I'll put a link in the description to where you can book tickets. Fortunately, Triumph have been so kind as to let us try out some of the 2021 Bonnevilles, and I picked these two because I think they make for a bit of a predicament if you're looking at buying a cruiser style Bonnie. So first up in this video, I'll go through the specs and tell you where they're similar, but there are certainly some strengths of the Bomber to tell you about, and the same could be said for the Speedmaster. And at the end, I'll tell you which one personally I would go for. So we'll go from the front to the back of these two bikes to make sure I don't miss anything, but like I say, they're basically the same. You've got 16-inch wheels front and rear with some chunky Avon Cobra tyres. At the front, you've got a pair of 2-piston Brembo calipers on 310mm discs, the same single pot brake at the rear as well, and then you've got 47mm Showa forks on each bike. It used to be a 41mm slightly skinnier fork on the Speedmaster, but it gets the same as the Bomber now. Similar story at the rear. They both have that kind of hardtail look, but there's actually a monoshock hidden under the seat. Basically the same shock on the two bikes, and with the same frame as well. You know, the chassis looks very, very similar indeed. Same story for the engine. So it's the 1200cc high torque variant of the Bonneville Parallel Twin, 78 horsepower, 106 newton meters of peak torque, and it's got a beautiful sound as well because of that 270-degree crank. Both of them sound absolutely lovely under acceleration. Now, one of the weaknesses of the Bomber used to be its range. The previous gen, I think it had a 9-litre tank, and I'd personally been on some group rides where the Bomber was always stopping to fuel at first. This year they've given it the same 12-litre tank that you get on the Speedmaster, so that's a welcome boost in range. And then lastly, you've got identical electronics on these two bikes as well. You've got a simple analog speedo with an LCD insert that gives you all the basic riding information. Nothing more than that though, it just suits the retro style of both of these bikes. You do get a couple of riding modes though, so you've got road and rain, where rain gives you a little bit less aggression on the throttle. ABS and traction control are slightly more eager to kick in, and then last up, cruise control. Now it's a very simple single push button. You can't nudge the speed up and down, but for me it works really nicely, and it's a must on a cruiser style bike like this. So first up, the Bomber. Why would you buy this one? I mean, the looks have to be one of the main reasons that they sell a load of these bikes. It's absolutely stunning. I especially like it in this 2021 paint job. I think this is ironstone and matte black. For me, it's just got perfect proportions. I love how slim and minimal it is at the back, and it's just a cracking looking bike straight out the dealer. And then there's a lot of potential to customize it, remove some of the homologation parts, and you end up with a very stripped back, almost custom looking bike. On top of that, because you don't have quite as much equipment on this bike as the Speedmaster, it is a little bit lighter. You're definitely going to notice that under acceleration and when you corner in. So if you do like to push on a bit, if you want the most performance for your money, because these two bikes are the exact same price as well, then this is the one to go for. And also through the corners as well, this is the one that likes to be pushed a little bit. Part of that is down to the riding position. You've got these flat bars, mid-position pegs as well, which personally, you know, I prefer them if you're riding more aggressively. And I also think, I need to double check this, but despite it being the same suspension and shock, mechanically I think the settings are different, because this feels firmer and more taut through the corners. So all of that stuff, the riding position, the weight, the suspension, combines for a bike that definitely feels like it wants to be pushed more than the Speedmaster. Now, the first reason to go for the Speedmaster is absolutely obvious. If you want to do any two-up riding, then there's only one choice. And although I have seen some aftermarket kits to put a pillion seat on the Bomber, I think it's going to end up a bit too expensive for me, and I think you may as well just go for the bike that's built for it straight out the dealer. The second reason is comfort. This bike is just absolutely the definition of an armchair on wheels. You've got forward position foot pegs. Now they are interchangeable, so you could put forward position pegs on the Bomber with the kit from the dealer. You could put mid positions on this, but these bars as well, they're absolutely ridiculous. Beach bars like this are not particularly common. You don't really find them on any other bike, but The riding position, it just feels absolutely sat up and all day comfortable. I mean, it does make the handling slightly unusual, especially if you jump on that bike and then straight onto this one as I did today. It takes a little bit of getting used to, and it certainly doesn't like to be pushed as much as the Bobber. But once you get used to it, you know, you can still push it a little bit through the country lanes, but it really is built for kind of sitting up and cruising along, enjoying the scenery. For 2021, they also revised the seat for a bit more comfort, and it certainly is a lot more padded and squishy than the seat on the Bobber. And look, I know ergonomics can be personal preference, and I'd always recommend demoing both bikes or at least sitting on them, but for me, this is an exceptionally comfortable bike. Last up, there's also a screen accessory. You've got a backrest accessory for the passenger. Both bikes you can get side bags, but for me, this would be the one that you can actually set up in a sort of touring style spec. Still probably not the best choice for like serious touring miles, but as a stylish weekend tourer, it'd be a great choice. And so with that, you know, which one would I go for? The Bobber is a lot of fun and I absolutely love the looks of it, but I think I'd buy this style of bike for covering some decent miles, and as such, for me, the Speedmaster would be the better choice. I think I'd spec it with that screen and some luggage and really turn it into a bit of a motorway mile muncher that actually looks good. And I reckon if you got the black one of the Speedmaster and perhaps fitted some of the engine cases and brushed exhaust from the Bobber, you'd end up with a very similar looking bike, just a bit more substantial at the back here. So that'd be my shout, the Speedmaster with a screen, some luggage, and black it out a bit.